Think about what has been put out in media throughout history. It's mostly from a cisgendered white male perspective. And so everything that's not that feels a little bit fresher. A real plea is for men to have enough empathy to go see movies starring women. Because I've been asked to go see movies starring men my entire life. And I don't know why men don't return the fucking favor.
Hi, I'm a woman and I didn't like your movie.
That's it, that's my intro.
I'm Amanda and you're watching Swell Entertainment. I've watched a lot of videos from Elizabeth Banks and I'm convinced that she'd convinced herself that men needed to go see this movie in order for it to be successful. That she just really didn't even consider if women were gonna go see her movie. Charlie's Angels 2019 did very poorly at the box office. Domestically, I think in total made around 9 million. Not good, bad. And then she kind of started attacking men, saying that men couldn't go see a woman-led franchise and all of that. Women didn't go see your movie either. If women really wanted to go see your movie and they turned up, you would have had more than 8 million. That 8 million shows that not a lot of people wanted to see your movie, women included. 2019 has been the year of shit reboots. Started the year off with Hellboy, which I saw. No, I will not make a video on it. I get too worked up. It's too bad. We had Men in Black International, which I did make a video on. We also recently had Terminator Dark Fate, which I went and saw and I actually didn't love it, but I just didn't feel the need to make a video on it because I didn't have a whole lot to say about it, other than a lot of the CGI didn't reach the other side of the uncanny valley and it just gave me the heebie-jeebies. It was very weird. And now the Charlie's Angels reboot. None of these reboots did well. I don't know why you guys keep making them. I don't know why you guys think these are good ideas. We kind of have to talk about the reality of that, at least for Men in Black International and Terminator Dark Fate. These are franchises that are predominantly males, and then female characters were inserted into them. There's a lot of reasons why these franchises didn't work out, and a lot of it does not have to do with the female characters that were involved. Some of it, they're expensive cash grabs. And yes, you could argue that all movies are expensive cash grabs, but these reboots lately have just been exceptionally lackluster and cheap. So for those of you that don't know, no one wanted a Charlie's Angels reboot. Not Hollywood, no one. A couple years ago, Banks herself started going around saying that she wanted to reboot Charlie's Angels and put a feminist spin on it. So I'm a feminist. Let's just talk about that. It seems like Banks and I kind of have differing views of feminism. To me, feminism is equality regardless of gender, race, sexuality, creed, etc. And it seems like hers is men aren't as great as women, women are better, and all of that. And it's like fine for you to believe that, but I mean, I don't want to say not my feminism, but like, I don't know why you thought Charlie's Angels was the movie that needed a feminist spin on it. I never watched the original TV series, but the Charlie's Angels movies starring Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, and Lucy Liu, I love those movies. I rewatched them after I went and saw 2019 Charlie's Angels because I had convinced myself with how disappointing 2019 was that I had misremembered the originals. No, they're amazing. I still love them. They're cheesy and ridiculous, and that's what makes them charming. From what I've seen of the marketing and of the film itself, I am your target audience member. I am young, I'm a woman. Our feminism may not match, but I do identify as a feminist. And you also put Kristen Stewart in this movie, so I'm assuming you wanted lesbians, bisexuals, and other women who are attracted to women to go see your movie, and I'm bi, so I'm sure there's more, but let's say that's the gist of the target audience. I left your movie bored. You never want anyone to leave your action movie bored. You really don't want someone in your target audience to leave your action movie bored. So I decided to make this video to talk about why I believe this movie failed, and then I'll talk about the movie as well. By the way, this will have spoilers. Let's talk about marketing. The trailer wasn't good. Very word heavy, not a lot of action in it. The action in the trailer really is some of the main, if not only, action that ends up in the movie itself, but we'll talk about that later. You opened it with a close-up of Kristen Stewart, which is smart. We as a viewer don't need to know, in the trailer at least, why she's punching this dude in the face. You stole aid money. Okay, let us figure that out when we go see your movie, but like now I know. Oh my god, why is she punching this dude in the face? What's Belenska doing? Why is she beating the shit out of these guys? I'm not a trailer editor, but the trailer was just bad. Your posters, not good. Sony has a habit of doing bad posters. There was a whole saga on Twitter about the different Spider-Man Far From Home posters and how trash a lot of them looked. This poster of the three angels in like their closet with the agency logo in the background. If anything, I would say that the closet element is one of the weakest points in the movie. I would say it's the weakest point, but there's just so many. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea to put that on a poster and try and distribute it because it looks, again, like shit. Here's another poster. Banks, why are you in the middle up front. You're playing Bosley. I'm gonna talk more about my gripes with the Bosley in this movie later. You're not like a main angel. I don't know why you're up front, because obviously the way the Townsend logo looks, it draws your eye there. I don't know why you thought you were the selling point here. You shouldn't have been. Your angels should be your selling point. Scott, Balinska, and Stewart. You should not have been the focal point. Another part of the marketing for this movie was the song Don't Call Me Angel, performed by Lana Del Rey, Ariana Grande, and Miley Cyrus. The song is objectively and confusingly bad. Much like the film, it seems like all three of the women kind of worked on their own segments separately and then came together for this song, and it produced this very wonky, clumsy, awkward musical number slash film. Ariana Grande and Miley Cyrus do have songs where they have at least complementary sounds. It seems like they didn't even try to complement each other vocally. For the most part, I like their music all individually. These women did not have business being on a song together. Their sounds are just so wildly different, and even in the song, they didn't even try to blend their sounds together at all. It's just very awkward and aggressively not good. The song didn't help the movie at all, really. One of the gripes that Banks had once the numbers started pouring in from opening weekend was that men have had 37 Spider-Man movies, but they couldn't go to like a woman-led franchise for the first time in 17 years. Let's talk about that, shall we? Like I said originally, Banks herself is the one who went around trying to drum up hype for a Charlie's Angels reboot, and then wrote the script, directed, and starred in the movie. No one really wanted it. Like I said earlier, there have been a lot of reboots this year, and in the past, there's also been other reboots or relaunches of franchise that haven't done terrible, that have done ridiculously well. Spider-Man is one of those franchises. You can also talk about that with the relaunch of Star Wars and the sequel trilogy that's going on right now that's about to end. Those movies made stupid amounts of money. We can also kind of talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The first movie did decently well, the second movie didn't do nearly as well. Those franchises and those characters all have one thing in common. They are all active franchises. Nickelodeon keeps Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles active. Star Wars always has cartoons, novelizations, toy lines, same with Spider-Man. Even when Spider-Man wasn't a part of the MCU, there were still different comic books coming out for him. There's still a Disney XD show. There are active things happening within those franchises. They are actively keeping their fandoms involved. They're gaining new following. They're maintaining a following. Men in Black really doesn't fall into that. Charlie's Angels really doesn't fall into that. I refuse to talk about Hellboy, but Hellboy is a comic book. But again, there were a lot of issues with that movie, and the fact that it's an active franchise didn't help it. Charlie's Angels is not an active franchise. The thing that Banks doesn't seem to know slash remember is that they did try to reboot Charlie's Angels already. In 2011, ABC released Charlie's Angels, a TV show. It was canceled by ABC after 4 episodes. That show was executively produced by Drew Barrymore. And it still tanked. No one wanted a Charlie's Angels reboot then. No one wants it now. I really hope the 2019 just squashes all reboots. Aside from Hollywood, you guys can keep making Ninja Turtle stuff. If you're out of ideas, you should talk to me about my Ninja Turtles on Ice idea. It'll probably be a bloodbath, but it will certainly be fun for the whole family. Moving on. Before the movie came out, Elizabeth Banks did an interview where she's talking about men needing to go and buy tickets to this movie and support a female-led franchise. She also talked about the reason that movies like Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel succeeded was because they were in a comic book genre, which is male-dominated, and they're gonna go see that because it builds up to the next big team-up movie. And then she also clarified that she didn't want to discredit how good those movies succeeded in the box office and such. I don't remember this happening prior to Wonder Woman, but I know after Wonder Woman there was some discerning amongst DC people, amongst the males. I did go see Wonder Woman twice, but I'm not an active member of the DC fandom, so I'm not super familiar with any issues that were arriving prior to Wonder Woman coming out. But I know that after it came out, there was some, issues from guys who were like, I don't like Steve's character, and why are they making comments about not being able to pleasure a woman and all this other stuff, but it was still fairly mild. But Captain Marvel was straight up boycotted by a lot of guys. A lot of men wouldn't even take their daughters to go see Captain Marvel because they thought it was an SJW man-hating movie. Personally, I don't think it was, at least not to the degree that people made it out to be. And also, I don't really care if it's an SJW movie, if it's not shitty, like Charlie's Angels 2019. And Captain Marvel still brought in over $1 billion. Your movie did not. Something that Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel both had in common is I left ready to punch someone. I left both of those movies ready to go. I left those movies feeling super pumped and excited and willing to punch anybody. Your movie did not make me feel like that. I left your movie bored. I also left it confused about a line from Lily Reinhart.
Heaven above, watch over us today. Don't make me a literal angel.
Shook me to my core. People should leave your action movie pumped up, ready to go, or at the very least content that they saw something entertaining. Your movie didn't do that. Comparing Charlie's Angels to those movies was never gonna work out for you. Let's talk about the movie itself, shall we? So the plot is that Naomi Scott's character is a scientist on a project called Callisto, which is basically a handheld arc reactor that will revolutionize the power industry. But shocker, she found out that it can be hacked and weaponized to kill people. So she tries to stop it and her boss shuts her down. And then she goes to the Angels for help. And then there's a boring hitman. He's really boring. One of the Bosleys dies and then surprise, Elizabeth Banks is now the official Bosley for that team. There's a mole who's like disclosing where they are to stop them getting the Callisto device. Wacky shenanigans ensue and they try to save the world. And they do it. I know that was really brief and basic, but that's I don't want to go into all the details. They're not exciting. I love the original films for a couple different reasons. Partly is that they're ridiculous. Your movie is not ridiculous. Fight scenes are sparing and really boring, and a lot of them are like hyper realistic, but also in like a boring way. Like when I think Charlie's Angels, I think a woman spinning 6 times for 1 kick and then moonwalking out of her room. Fun fighting, like crazy cheesy fighting. Like that's what I'm excited to see. The movie took itself too seriously in that element.
Women do not typically walk into the room and immediately start fighting. We need to use strategies in our lives to avoid violence. My angels who are not trained assassins, they're not John Wicks. They're not Jason Bournes, they're not James Bonds. The mantra the entire time I was making the movie was that the women fight smarter, not harder.
I can tell it's boring. One instance, Stuart's character has to distract the guards. Stuart is like, I have so many ideas. You know what her idea ends up being? In front of the cameras. That's what she does. I like that you filmed that and we're like, this is good. We're putting this in the film. The original films did think smarter, not harder. They didn't always fight anyone. They didn't have to. Your opening scene demonstrates what the original franchise was all about. Stuart's character, Sabina, says, did you know it takes a man 7 or 8 seconds longer to consider a woman a threat? Exactly. That's what the original Charlie's Angels movies were all about. They knew men didn't see them as a threat. So they would use the fact that they were women who were hot to distract men to get the information they needed or to be underestimated. They thought smarter, not harder. A man's not gonna think that I'm trying to distract him while my friend is putting a bug on his car. He's just gonna think I'm flirting with him. And it doesn't always work. There's straight up points where they are ignored and it doesn't matter and they still manage to get what they were looking for. Your way of thinking smarter, not harder really just comes down to being lazy over being cool. In the trailer, there's a scene in the closet where Scott's character picks up a thing and she's like, oh, mint. The character Saint, who's one of the only male characters in this movie that isn't killed, evil, or awkward. He slaps it out of her hand and just goes, no, 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 let's stop touching things. Some things in here blow up. And I'm thinking, oh, exploding mints. Yeah, let's get some explosions. No, they're little sticky dots that when you take them and you slap them on someone's neck, they lose consciousness. At one point, Scott's character touches it and loses consciousness. They also utilize that in the final fight scene. Now I'm gonna talk about the final fight scene in a moment, but first let's talk about the Bosleys. In the original films, the Bosleys' whole role is to connect the angels to Charlie, and that's pretty much it. Everything else about their job description is kind of at the will of the angels. Do they need them to go undercover? Do they need them to be, you know, a distraction? And then sometimes they're the damsel in distress in the case of the first one where he straight up gets kidnapped and the angels have to go and rescue Bosley. And then in the second movie, he saves the day by hitting the bomb and making it blow up and saving everybody. The character is never, though, a suave character. The character is always kind of bumbling, often anxious, and is nowhere near a suave agent. In this movie, the Townsend Agency is now international. It's not just the 3 angels. There's like a whole network of angels, and they're pretty much all independent contractors at the will of their Bosleys. Their Bosleys are not just their connectors to Charlie. Their Bosleys are their handlers, their trainers. Banks's Bosley herself says it's a rank in their agency, like a lieutenant. I don't like it. Banks's Bosley is just put together constantly. She's not at the will of the angels. She's running point. She's guiding them. She's in charge, really. She's basically the team leader. And at one point, we are led to believe that Banks's character is the mole, because there's someone who's like giving out their location, their information, because someone who knew they were meeting with Scott's character knew about Callisto and sent a hitman after them. So they believe it's someone in the agency who's tipping off their information. So they decide, let's keep it quiet. And then we are led to believe that Banks tells a random woman. That woman ends up being Charlie now, by the way. Charlie's now a woman. There's recasting and then there's just actively trying to piss people off, because that's what I think that was. When did empowerment just come? Let's make all the male characters female, because we're diverse. reverse. You can just make a new character. Have you noticed that it's almost always a white woman they put into that role? Just saying. And then surprise, it's not Banks. She's not the evil one, which would have been better. But again, this is a feminist movie, so the villain has to be a guy, and it's Patrick Stewart. And I'm sorry, I didn't like you as the villain, Patrick Stewart. You did like this smiley, creepy thing a couple of times, and it just didn't work out. He's a former Bosley who retires, and then we're led to believe that he's hiding from the agency, but Banks's character dosed him with something, which is a tracking device. I don't know why that was a point that was necessary. They all, to my knowledge, have these tattoos that work as communication devices for everybody. I don't know why there's not a tracker in that. I'm assuming there is, unless they didn't say that that's not a tracker, but I'm assuming that's a tracker. So what was the point of having to dose him if he's got the tattoo, unless he had the tattoo removed or it's easy to remove? Let's just dose him and make it go inside of him and make him digest it. But eventually he's going to digest it. What is the point of this? Banks' character is a former angel. She's the first angel, apparently, to rise up to the level of a Bosley. This doesn't affect anything, really, aside from when the angels do think she is the mole and evil. They say she wouldn't be the first angel to go rogue, which is a callback to the character played by Demi Moore in Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. I hate that you made that comparison. I love Demi Moore in that movie. Demi Moore doing a triple flip, landing in heel boots while wielding 2 gold-plated guns. You wish you could pull that off. Frickin' cinema. I bet Scorsese would agree with me. The only reason she's an angel was to make that comparison. Also, during the final fight with her and Patrick Stewart, and Patrick Stewart's got her on the ground, makes some kind of comment about her being an angel. It's like, you flew too high to the sun. All the bad guys are surrounding her, but then eventually she's got him down and she's like, my name is Bosley, and I'm gonna kick your ass. That was the point of having her be an angel, so that she could have, like, I'm a Bosley now. Again, I said the final fight scene was stupid. Angels are surrounded, and then all of a sudden the lights go dark, and you think that they're gonna all kick ass. Surprise, they killed everyone. But no, the lights come up, and all of a sudden all the guys start dropping one by one, and you realize they all have pass out Altoid dots on them, and all of the women in the party, surprise, they're all angels. Because that's the point of this. And it's like the movie can't expect you to remember all these characters. But Naomi Scott's character is like, so-and-so? I don't remember her name. To one of the girls, and she just nods at her. We then go on a flashback tour with a bunch of the different women, showing how they were all part of the story in the movie earlier on. We know the one character that Scott addresses is the one who handed her the Townsend agency card. So we already knew she was an angel, or at least involved in the agency. And then that's it. That's the final battle. They just drop. No crazy fight scenes, no explosions, no gunfights, just sticky dots. I'm bored. If you wanted to make a movie that was like more dependent on tech, I feel like we would have had a better luck making a live action Totally Spies movie. If I'm remembering correctly, they were pretty heavy on gadgets. I don't know, I'm just tired of reboots. Let's get more weird live actions. Let's do weird shit. Let's get some Dragon Tales. Can we do a Winx Club movie? Let's get creative. Let's do some weird shit. The villains were boring. I really liked the villains in the original. They were characters. They weren't just like throwaway characters to be killed off. Your hitman, all he did was have neck tattoos and not talk, and then he died. I liked it better when Banks was the villain. I was like, oh cool, we get a blonde villain. Exciting. I didn't think it was good. You can't just undermine every male character, or in the case of Charlie, recast the character and make really basic, boring male characters and villains and expect that to be enough to amp up and empower your female characters. There wasn't a lot of depth to these characters. A lot of the acting could have been better, but again, they were given a crappy script to work with. It's not well written, it's terrible. Early on in the movie, the security guard from Scott's job, it's set up in the film that this security guard has clearly been harassing her, has clearly been hitting on her. We see him watching the monitors, waiting for her to come in so that he gets to stop her. So we already know, like, this is not the best type of person because he's just being creepy to this girl at her job. And even then, we had to throw in this really awkward line, and not saying it's awkward because the situation is awkward, it's awkward because the add-in of the line itself is awkward. He just says the words, and don't forget to smile. I work in the service industry. Now, I have been told that, but I didn't feel seen by that line. I felt like you were pandering to me in like the shittiest way possible. Another line that Banks says under her breath when one of the angels says, oh good, I'm starving. She goes, all women are starving all the time. Why have that in there? It's not funny. I do disagree with people saying like, she shouldn't direct any more movies, blah, 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 let women make mediocre movies. No one stopped her from making this movie. Anyone can make a shitty movie, man, woman, whatever you choose to identify as. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep trying or do another movie. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't say that this is a bad movie because it's made by a woman. Men make shitty movies all the time. They keep making movies. It's fine. Maybe this isn't a genre that Banks can handle. Maybe an action franchise wasn't a good step for her, but that doesn't mean she should just stop making movies. I like Pitch Perfect 2 well enough, not well enough to see Pitch Perfect 3, whatever. I'm never gonna tell a director, you know, stop making movies unless you're a genuinely shitty person. This movie is not good, but that doesn't mean that she's not capable of making good movies. Maybe don't make yourself a central character in your movies. Maybe stay away from action franchises temporarily. You don't seem to be comfortable working on that dynamic. Maybe explore other avenues. If she learns from this, grows from this, I will absolutely like to see more from her in the future. But currently it doesn't seem like she's taken any criticism constructively. You were going in with a losing bet, really. No one wanted a reboot of Charlie's Angels. Thank you for watching. Did you see Charlie's Angels 2019? Did you like Charlie's Angels 2019? Did you see the 2000s Charlie's Angels? Did you like those? Did you see the couple episodes that aired of the Charlie's Angels 2011 series? Apparently they didn't even air one of the episodes. Let me know. Comment down below. Shout out to my patrons, Catherine and Aaron. Thank you for supporting my Patreon. If you would also like to become a patron, the link will be listed down below. Follow me on all my social media. That'll be linked all up here. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this video and all that good stuff. Goodbye. When Dylan comes out and she's wrapped in the sheet because she had sexy times with Eric, and she sees Eric and she knows that Vivian, his partner, is the bad guy. But Vivian's there now and she has to tell Eric because she needs to keep him safe because she's an angel, and even though they just had sexy time. They sit down on the couch and he's like, do you want some champagne? Do you need anything? And she has to convey to him they're in trouble because that's the bad guy. So she spells out enemy in the Scrabble tiles and just goes, and Eric just kisses her and says, I know, and gets up. And then you realize as he goes over and puts on music and starts playing, and then Vivian is just standing there, and then the hitman, the thin man, comes in, and you realize that he's also the bad guy and they're in cahoots. And Dylan's, iconic.